So welcome everyone. This is going to be a very chill, very quick presentation. I just wanted to introduce you all to the idea of committing to data entrepreneurship. A little bit about me. I went to Georgia Tech. I studied biology and biomedical engineering. From there, I went to Johns Hopkins to continue studying biomedical engineering, and also did graduate work at the University of Texas and studied computational pharmacology. So my trajectory started in the basic sciences, which is represented by tubes over here, moved from that into neuropsychopharmacology for my PhD, and then specifically into computational pharmacology. And in doing computational pharmacology, I was able to brush up on some skills that I had from college, like Python, but learned new skills and was able to really take off in terms of my computational ability. From there, I got into data engineering and data warehousing, and that allowed me to branch off into ML ops and machine learning and predictive analytics, which I now do as a consultant for a number of different organizations, from big to small, I guess is the best way to put it. That's nonprofits, businesses, small startups, and everything in between. So that's the kind of work that I do now. And yeah, that is an introduction to me. So I guess I want to start by explaining what broader impact means. For those of you who aren't in the sciences, the NSF is one of the largest granting organizations, and one of the main sections of a grant is your broader impacts. And so those broader impacts are supposed to look into how your research benefits society. And for me, as a Black woman, as a Black queer woman, as an immigrant, I think about how my work impacts society on a daily basis, if not more frequently. And so as I started to think about what kind of work I wanted to do, I wanted to make sure that the work that I did focused on broader impacts. And then an additional definition of those broader impacts and what that can actually look like. For me, it's mostly the top three: inclusion, STEM education, and public engagement. And how broader impacts are manifested can be everything from working with a nonprofit that focuses on the well-being of domestic workers and immigrants, to working with a large company that is very focused on how to increase STEM engagement. So that's another aspect of broader impacts. And that's what brought me to this place. So I guess the stages of this talk are going to be threefold. I'm going to talk about why do it in terms of data entrepreneurship, next, when to do it for data entrepreneurship, and how to do it. And I want to do this as gently as possible because I know that a lot of people are, there's a lot of resistance to data entrepreneurship and not going the straightforward route of just getting a job and hoping to work there for 40 or 50 years. But for me, getting into data entrepreneurship is also a means of crafting my own liberation. And so by the end of this talk, I want to help all of you to understand the need for socioeconomic independence, know your conditions for liberation and when it's time for you to push back, and finally, to craft your own liberation through Black radical feminism. And I know I'm like a little bit far left for some people, but I promise you it's not going to hurt. It's going to be a fun ride. So yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to start with this quote from Ruth Wilson Gilmore. She said that racism is the intentional imposition of economic, political, and social inequality, supported and maintained by institutional structures, policies, and practices. Why am I talking about racism? Because we want to establish a baseline. When we talk about why Black data scientists should consider data entrepreneurship, we have to first start with the reality of racism in our field and across the country, as well as global anti-Blackness. So we start here with a basic understanding that racism is something that we all face within our field. So the next why is when your job won't love you back. In 2022, there were 159,786 jobs that were cut by tech firms, according to layoffs.fyi. And in this year alone, 98,100 employees have been laid off. And I should also say that this is by the end of January. And so that's not taking into account the layoffs that have also gone across Disney and a number of other large firms. So that's where we're at right now. Your job won't love you back. And the security that was promised to people in previous generations is not a reality for us in the 21st century. In addition to that, in 2021, the US labor market saw a record number of workers quitting their jobs, which signaled a shift in priorities towards job satisfaction and fulfillment. So we all know what that looked like in 2021 when people were trying to find themselves in terms of the work that they were pursuing and what that looked like. What we're seeing now in terms of the layoffs is the backlash, right? So instead of our ability to envision the future that we want through employment, our employers are making it very clear that we are just numbers and we are not as valuable as their bottom line. Another reason to consider data entrepreneurship is because liberation will not come through a paycheck. So the share of Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck has risen to 63%, including nearly half of six-figure earners. So what does this mean? It means that no matter how much money you're making, if you're relying on a job and on a paycheck, then you are unable to actually visualize and achieve your own liberation. You are dependent on this organization, whatever that organization may be. And especially in the time of economic uncertainty, you really don't want to be relying on any external factors for your ability to take care of yourself. Rounding up with that same quote, just to say that the main reason, the big why for why we need to consider data entrepreneurship is because as we move through the data world, each of us, especially those of us who are Black and Brown, are facing an uphill battle that is defined by and intensified by racism. Okay, so the next quote that I have for our when section is from Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks said that when we drop fear, we can draw nearer to people, we can draw nearer to the earth, we can draw nearer to all the heavenly creatures that surround us. And I love this quote for so many reasons. It's just like a beautiful way of describing how we can be our truest selves when we release that fear. But I also understand that fear is probably the biggest determining factor when it comes to whether or not people choose data entrepreneurship. There's the fear of what lies ahead, the fear of the unknown, fear of stepping out with no safety net. And I get it. But we also have to realize that fear is what keeps us from speaking out against injustice and oppression. Fear is what keeps us from realizing our truest potential and our ability to advocate for ourselves. So when we succumb to that fear, we are succumbing to our own oppression, essentially. So I just want to encourage everyone who's here today to release that fear and connect with the support of a community that exists within the data world, whether that's Black in Data, Black Tides. If you're worried about going out into the world as a data entrepreneur, I promise you there are advocates and people out there who will help you along the way. Okay, so when do you need to jump into data entrepreneurship? First, I would say during times of economic uncertainty. This figure is from 2020, but we have now seen even higher levels of unemployment, again, rivaling the Great Depression. And in that kind of climate, it's necessary to think of alternative income sources, ways that you can take care of yourself that don't revolve around a job that, again, won't love you back. So my first clue is to think about how your economic situation is going to be affected by focusing on or allowing an employer to control whether or not you make through that economic uncertainty. Another time to jump into data entrepreneurship is when you've reached a glass ceiling. So a recent survey found that 54% of women have experienced gender bias in the workplace. I know it's probably a lot higher than that. It's probably 100%. With the lack of advancement opportunities cited as a major reason for leaving a job. So I come from academia, and what we have in academia is called a leaky pipeline, because for some reason, there's a huge number of undergraduate and graduate trainees in all of these different fields. But as you get along the pipeline, when you get to professorships and lectureships and tenure, then all of those people have disappeared. In reality, it's not so much a leaky pipeline where no blame can go around. The reality is that people from underrepresented backgrounds are facing a number of hurdles to their success, including racism, gender-based discrimination, et cetera, that prevent them from advancing to where they need to be. So if you feel like your job is not there for you, if you feel like you've gotten as far as you can get within your job, then I encourage you to consider data entrepreneurship. It's a way out. It's a way to get to that next step in your career without relying on an employer. Another when is when it no longer serves you. I have loved the way that advocates have changed the shape of labor within the past couple of years. In addition to the adoption of remote work, with 42% of the US labor force joining from home full-time as of June 2021, there's also been an increase in unionized work. When we talk about our employers and how they control our trajectory in terms of our careers and in terms of our safety within a company, it's important to think about how you can create that kind of safety. And one of the ways to do it is with a union. So I'll just toss that in there. If you're still working a job, definitely consider starting a union if you don't have one, or joining one if you do. And then again, this quote from Bell Hooks: when we drop fear, we can draw nearer to people, we can draw nearer to the earth, we can draw nearer to all the heavenly creatures that surround us. Okay, and now we get to the third section. This is the how. And I'm starting the how to get into data entrepreneurship with this quote from Audre Lorde, where she said that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. So what does that mean? It means that if you're trying to get to a point of communal safety, if you're trying to get to a point of individual safety, you're not going to do that through the systems that already exist. And when you think about your own career and your own ability to provide for yourself, the systems that exist, we already described, are racist, and they will never be the tools that you use to get to your own liberation. So what are those tools? First, in the how, I want to talk about doing what you love. So there was a recent survey from APA that found that 72% of adults believe that pursuing their passions is important for their well-being, and another 64% believe it's important for their professional success. So when we talk about using tools that are not the master's tools, we think about getting that power from within ourselves. So when you do what you love, when you connect to things that excite you, that allows you to be your best self and contribute the most to the world and make the broadest impact. For me, the things that I love doing, I love doing predictive analytics. I love doing electoral work. I love connecting with people on the ground who are doing field organizing, whether that's for a union or that's for an advocacy cause. All of these things are the things that motivate me to do this data work. So when I do work with broader impact, I'm doing what I love. And that's what helps me to get up in the morning and feel confident in my vocation. Whereas if I'm working for someone else, then their goals and their values are what come first rather than my own. So my first clue in how to do data entrepreneurship is to do what you love. Next, I would say to put yourself first. There's been an increase in self-care practices across the US. People have been engaging in at least one self-care activity in 2020 and beyond, according to NIH. But we know that self-care, that brief time that you get away from work, whatever, a spa, isn't enough to wipe away the years of oppression, of mediocre treatment, of microaggressions, of the daily trauma that goes along with being an employee in a white employer. So when I say to put yourself first, I mean beyond just the self-care, you should be putting your work first. You should be putting your ability to provide for yourself, your happiness, the things and people that you're loyal to, all of those should come first. And self-care is realizing that a job is not serving you and it's not giving you the joy that you need. So that's what I mean by putting yourself first. The other how is to build what you know. So it was projected that the data industry is going to grow by 16.5% year over year, with a total market size of $140.9 billion by 2025. Each of us out there has our different data skills, whether those are in data visualization or in machine learning, predictive analytics. If your skills are on the data cleaning and EDA side, that's another aspect. Of course, we also have our data engineers out there who are working to keep data infrastructure working. All of us have these different skills that we're bringing to the market. But what sets each of us apart is our different backgrounds, right? So me coming from computational pharmacology, I might think of a problem very differently from someone who's coming from industrial engineering or someone who's coming from business intelligence. So all of us, as we go into the market as individual data entrepreneurs, we build what we know when we lean into our differences, when we lean into the things that make our work unique. So how to get into data entrepreneurship: build what you know, find your niche, and lean into it. And again, the quote from Audre Lorde: "The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house." We are only as strong as the work that we put into building our communities. And I just want to put a shout out to the Black in Data community, for Black Tides, for creating this community that's allowed us to come together and even talk about this in the first place. So when you have a community like this, lean on it. You're not alone when you go out into the world of data entrepreneurship. And that's all that I have. So I'm opening it up to questions. I know that went pretty fast, but if you have any questions, if you're interested in data entrepreneurship, if you agree, disagree, whatever, I'd love to hear it. I see a question from Kelly Hopkins. What was your step one when starting your consulting business? The step one for me was definitely becoming incorporated, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that form. You can be an individual proprietor without the existence of an LLC. You don't have to do those steps. But that was my first step. And another first step I would say is finding your niche. It's really important to know what it is that you bring to the data community and what you provide to whoever your base of clients is going to be. So between starting that LLC and finding your niche, one of those is definitely the first step. I see a question from Bella Morgan, and then I'm going to get Alexis. Bella Morgan said, what advice can you share about identifying and securing contracts? Yes, definitely start with your network. I am someone who has definitely benefited from using my network and getting clients through word of mouth. But in addition to that, cold calls are a thing. Like, it's very possible to reach out to someone who you've never spoken to before and offer your services. I think that even before you start securing contracts, it's very helpful to get into the space of volunteering. So I know people have different feelings about that, but one thing that has helped me a lot has been volunteering in data spaces and doing good work for um, nonprofits and social good organizations. When they need data help and data cleaning, I reach out to them. And then that is another way of expanding your network and getting more people to um, get into your contract roulette. And then Alexis.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Christine. Thank you for this presentation. So, I actually have two questions. My first one is I am interested in data entrepreneurship because I genuinely am interested, but in all honesty, survival is also a big driving factor for me right now. So, would you recommend me pursuing my niche or should I try to chase after what would be lucrative right now?
Mm, hmm. So I would say still pursue your niche because you need to find a way to make yourself stand out in the market. Um, and oftentimes that ends up being what's lucrative. I'm curious what you mean by your niche and what's lucrative. Do you mean like the big general terms like the way that AI is uh, probably the most popular part of our field right now?
Yes. So, like, I've been studying data science and like data analytics. So, I know a little bit of machine learning, but I know more so like Tableau and Power BI. And sorry, my baby's over here talking.
That's fine. We love babies.
So I wasn't sure if I should chase after that because then I was talking to someone and they were like, data engineering is where it's at. So I wasn't sure if I should, like, quite frankly, chase where the money's at because, like I said, survival is a big factor for me. Or should I just stay with, like, I like Tableau, I like the visualization, I like being able to be creative and just go with my niche.
Yeah, I would definitely say that it's that you should go with your niche. All of these fads definitely come and go. And the good thing about being in this data space is that there's growth across the board. So whether it's data analytics or data science or data engineering or ML ops or ML engineering, any of those fields are growing right now. So I don't think that you need to worry about focusing on the niche itself.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then my second question is in the last presentation, it really opened my eyes about like specializing. Do you think that I should only stick to literally one thing, or what I want to do is combine my data and my project management skills and try to create like some sort of demand because those are like two unique sets of skills, I think. Would you think that's a good way of approaching it, or should I stick to just one thing?
No, I love what you're saying right now because that is a field that's growing as well, the data project management field. So if you're doing work that's combining the two of them together, that's in very high demand, both on an employment level and on a consulting level.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's see, who did we have after Alexis? I'm so happy, Natasha, that you have been here for Black and Data Week and this weekend and learning so much about data entrepreneurship. That's dope. Um, so MA says, I'm not a data entrepreneur, but the community work speaks to me. I'm happy I discovered Black Tides to know that I can be as I am and exist in this data space. Thank you, Christine, for the great presentation. Thank you. And I'm so glad that you are a part of this community. We all come with very different skills and needs and desires and gifts. So as you're coming in, I know that whatever it is that you're bringing is making us better. So I just appreciate you. Rose from Black and AI, hello. Do you partner with other data entrepreneurs? I use this in my business development strategy and have been extremely successful. That's a great question. I have worked alongside other data entrepreneurs for big projects, and I've also subcontracted with other people to lighten the load when it's a larger contract or more than one person can do. I think when I first got into data entrepreneurship, I got greedy and I was just like snatching up contracts. But in reality, like you can only do so much. You only have so many hours in a day. And so when I get contracts that I can't get to, I send them to other people, other data entrepreneurs, or I work with other data entrepreneurs on them. And if you are a data entrepreneur and you are looking for contracts, please hit me up. I have way too many, and I'm always happy to share information with everybody out there. Yes, survival is important, self-care is important. Money will be chasing you. That sounds like a Nigerian prayer, honestly, but okay, thank you. Chris Franklin has a testimonial. Agree with volunteering has definitely worked for me. Now doing 60-minute webinars for a Fortune 500 company. Love the farm. I give and the harvest comes even without looking for reciprocation from giving in the first place. Yes, give to your community, give to social good. If there's something that you believe in, give to that cause, whether that's your time, your money, your efforts, and good things happen from it. As a testimonial, we have Chris Franklin's experience. Lots of jobs for data engineering, but like the presentation also said, do what you love. You can combine what you love, and companies are looking for that skill. Data visualization and storytelling is very important for organizations. Yes, MA, that's great advice. And sending that back to Alexis, you should always do what you love and combine the skills that you do have. With building a data entrepreneurship practice, is having a portfolio still significant, says Denise. I would say yes, it's absolutely significant. If you can build a portfolio based on your clients, even better. But if you don't have clients yet, then it's always good to show people what you can do. So if you're leaning into your data visualization, have a Tableau account, have your RStudio, your Python, your Matplot library work visible for people to see that you are able to use these libraries and that you're able to use this software for data visualization. So I would say portfolio is important, but also everybody, like, the fact of the matter is you are going to need to prove your worth 10 times over again in comparison to your white or non-Black counterparts. So a portfolio for that reason is always going to be significant. And I'm sorry to say that. Black Women in AI said, for those looking at the financial aspects, know that increase in revenue is based on increase in relationships. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Kim. And Chris, the MVP of the day, has shared with everyone the World Quant University Applied Data Science Lab. So it's a free, challenging course for you to take and get into that kind of experience. Rose has a great response to the portfolio question, that they can be in other formats such as past performances and case studies. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, tell your mom, tell your friends, tell everybody about Black Tides. Thank you, MA. And Kim has the great advice of building a portfolio based on the clients that you want to target. So Alexis, okay, let's get into it. Alexis says, I know that a degree isn't necessary to be successful in the data sector, but do you think it would be worth the time and the money to get a master's in data science if I don't have one? I'm gonna say no. And the reason I'm saying no is because the ROI on any degree right now is very low, but the ROI on a certification is very high. So if you are interested in using Google Cloud Platform, they have their own certifications. If you're interested in using AWS, they have their certifications. Tableau has a certification. All of these tools that we use, you can get certified in and become a professional user. Even R, you can become an R expert and find clients through that if you're one of the R users. So yeah, that's only my personal opinion after having spent 10 years plus in academia. I would say don't bother with the master's degree. Focus on getting the skills that you need in a shorter amount of time with a certificate. Shout out to Streamlit. Yes, Streamlit does allow you to build interactive web apps, and it's a no-code environment that allows you to do that without knowing JavaScript or CSS or HTML. So thank you for that, Chris Franklin. In addition to that, RStudio and Posit have their own hosting platforms, and you can also build a microsite there as well. And a shout out to Correlation One from Denise. Correlation One is a training program that allows you to get into data science regardless of your background. Okay, thank you, Sia. Thank you everyone for coming out. Chris, also Dash, yes, for Python web apps. Dash is from, I'm trying to remember who made that. But I think Plotly was initially like a library within Python that now makes entire dashboards and frameworks for Python web apps. So definitely check out Plotly and Dash if you're interested in visualizing your work. So thank you all. If you have any questions, you can reach me at bydata.io or at Christine@bydata.io. I'm also on Twitter as Broader Impact. I love all of you. I'm so glad that we had this amazing week and weekend of Black in Data and Black in Data entrepreneurship. And yeah, if you need to reach me, again, Christine@bydata.io or Broader Impact on Twitter. All right, y'all. Thanks so much.